to Eaglebrook Church. Grateful to have you at our campuses or if you're watching online. I want to kick off today with a question, and the question is this: have you ever felt forgotten? Maybe someone forgot your birthday, your spouse forgot your anniversary. Maybe you just go through life and you feel like nobody notices me, nobody sees me, I feel forgotten. A man named Daniel DeGrieve died of a massive heart attack on the 16th green at Willowbrook Golf Course in Winter Haven, Florida. But because rescue workers can't transfer a body without permission from a loved one, they had to cover his body with a sheet for 2 hours as they were trying to get a hold of his wife and find out which funeral home to transfer him to. Meanwhile, as he laid under this sheet, his friends and neighbors from the nearby mobile home park, they just kept golfing. He was laying on the 16th green. His friend Robert Alexander, he said this, he said, it was a real shock to all of us, but there was nothing we could do. Life goes on, so we had to keep going. And so they did. They'd putt in on 15, skip the 16th hole. Hey, Daniel, go up to the tee box on 17, tee off, and they were on their way. Isn't it true for all the fuss that we make about how other people see us and how we appear to them, that when we die, they're just gonna play on? And maybe you felt like that in life where you go, other people just walk past me, other people overlook me. You might be hurting and in pain, and even people close to you, it's like they just play on. You can feel this at work, where people aren't appreciative of your contributions. You can feel this with a coach who maybe you feel like doesn't see your potential. You can feel this way with a person you want to date. It's like you don't even seem to exist to them. You can also feel this way with your family, where you're like, I'm serving so much, I'm doing so much, and no one seems to notice. We're in a series right now called Living with a Limp. And I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but I like that title. And the reason why I like the title is because when you have a limp, you can function in life. I mean, you can get up in the morning, you can go to work, you can go to school, you can function in life, but you're hurting. And I think this is where some people find themselves these days. You're hurting. Someone said something to you, something happened to you, and you are living with a limp. This series is based on the story of a man in the Old Testament named Jacob. And his story is found in the first book of the Bible, which is Genesis. And so I'm just gonna kind of get you caught up if you've missed this series. Jacob's parents were Rebekah and Isaac. His grandfather was a man named Abraham, and God had gone to Abraham and said, hey, I'm gonna make you the father of a great nation. That nation ended up becoming the nation of Israel. Jacob's name was changed to Israel, and his 12 sons became the leaders or founders of what is known as the 12 tribes of Israel. Jacob also was a twin. His twin brother Esau came out of the womb just slightly before him. And in that culture, that was kind of a big deal. The oldest son was the one who was gonna carry on the family line and receive the family blessing. And so one day when Esau was out hunting, Jacob kind of devised a plan. He put some animal hair on his arm. Apparently Esau was a hairy dude. He went into his father Isaac's bedroom. His father Isaac was losing his eyesight, and his dad got confused. He's like, it's the voice of Jacob, but it's the hairy arm of Esau. And so he ended up giving the family blessing to Jacob. When Esau found out about this, he was furious. He wanted to kill Jacob, and so Jacob had to flee to his ancestral homeland. That's where he met a guy named Laban. And in the irony of all ironies, Laban deceives the deceiver. Jacob's this deceitful guy. Laban comes to him and says, hey, if you will work for me for 7 years, I will give you my daughter Rachel as your wife. Jacob's like, great, that sounds great. He works for him for 7 years. It gets to the wedding day. It gets to the wedding night. Jacob's gonna consummate his marriage. That's kind of how they consummated their marriage then. And I don't know if it's because she had a veil over her face or if it was really dark, but when Jacob wakes up in the morning, he goes, wait a minute, that's not Rachel. That's her sister Leah. Laban had switched the two of them. Let me read to you what the Bible says about Leah and Rachel. Ryan read this last week. But it says this, now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel had a lovely figure and was beautiful. I wore glasses to work one time, and my coworkers called me Four Eyes all day long. These are the people I work with. They're very, very mature people. The whole day it was like, hey, Four Eyes. How would you like to be Leah? And for all of history, when people read the Bible, all they know about you is you don't see real well, and you're not as beautiful as your sister Rachel. When Jacob wakes up in the morning and realizes it's Leah, it's not Rachel, he loses his mind. He's so upset, he's so angry. He goes to Laban and says, man, you deceived me. And Laban says, well, if you work for me for another 7 years, I'll give you Rachel as your wife as well. And Jacob agrees to do this. But here's the person I want you to put yourself in their shoes. Imagine being Leah. And you're watching your now husband lose his ever-loving mind. And the reason he is throwing a fit is because he's married to you. He doesn't love you. He doesn't think you're beautiful. He doesn't want to be married to you. And that brings us to what I think is one of the most tender verses in the entire Bible. It says this, when the Lord saw that Leah was not loved, he enabled her to conceive, but Rachel remained childless.